Okay, okay, students. In the previous class, we have discussed about central-state relations. Now we are going to discuss about. Now we are going to discuss about a specific topic called as legislative relations. Article 245 of Constitution deals with this particular aspect. So when it comes to legislative relations means here the role of the legislator is to pass laws, is to enact laws. So we have both legislators like central legislator called parliament and we have state legislator called state legislative assembly. So when it comes to jurisdiction, normally the parliament has power to pass laws on central list, states legislator has power to pass laws on state list. So here two types of jurisdiction, this kind of here when it comes to this legislative relations. Two kinds of jurisdiction means it is divided into two parts. The one is territorial jurisdiction and the second one is subject matter jurisdiction. So when it comes to territorial jurisdiction under Article 245, a territory means the power of the parliament extends to whole India. The power of state legislator extends to the state. So what is happening today in the 7th schedule? We have lists called union list, state list and concurrent list. That we will discuss later. Here when it comes to territorial jurisdiction, the exercise of power of the respective legislator, to what extent it can exercise its power in the given territory, that is called territorial jurisdiction. In territorial jurisdiction under Article 245, even the application of territorial jurisdiction is subject to fundamental rights and territory. Okay. So here when it comes to territorial jurisdiction, if parliament pass a law or if a state legislator pass a law, whether it exceeds its jurisdiction or not, whether it exceeded its jurisdiction is right, that is what important today. Territorial nexus means sometimes the government, central government or the state government may impose tax on a particular item. Whether the state legislator has power to impose tax on that particular item. That is more important here, territorial jurisdiction. So when it comes to this territorial jurisdiction, the legislative power of the state legislator is subject to what I told you already. It is subject to the scheme of distribution of powers and fundamental rights and other provisions of Constitution. So when law is passed by the state legislature, is subject to these three parts. Okay. So next one is, this is the territorial nexus. What is territorial nexus? If a state legislator pass a law or Parliament of India pass a law, whether is there any nexus between the law and means object to be sought to be implemented. So here we have a case called in the particular Wallace versus Income Tax Commissioner. To understand this particular territorial nexus, you have to read Wallace versus Income Tax Commissioner, Bombay. In this case, a company which was registered in England was a partner firm in India. The Indian Income Tax Authority sought to tax the entire income made by the company. The Privy Council applied the doctrine of territorial nexus and held that levy of tax is valid. It is said that the deprivation of British India, the derivation from British India of a major part of its income for company union list is relating to matters India Union and state list relating to states, and concurrent list is having both areas, both means both center and state are having concurrent jurisdiction. Okay, so this was, you will find this in 7th schedule of the Constitution under 246. What 246 is saying, in a federal constitution, for this purpose, in a federal constitution, the matters were divided between state and center. So, certain matters were included in concurrent list. Now we have 97 and 97 matters in union list, 66 in state list and 47 in concurrent list. Okay, so here when it comes to application of this is called application of these lists. While applying a matter, when it comes to a contradiction, whether it is in union list or it is in union list or state list or concurrent list, how to interpret this particular matter by the court. What is there in Constitution? Normally in Constitution, what it is saying in 246 article, the center has power to pass laws on union list. The state has right to pass laws in state list. When it comes to concurrent list, both are having power. Okay. So, if you look at the scheme of distribution of powers in these lists, list means is 3 lists, what we have to understood, based on the conditions and case to case basis, the Supreme Court have tried to interpret these 2 lists. This is called as interpretation of lists by the Supreme Court. So, whenever there is a contradiction between these lists, the Supreme Court have applied certain doctrines. That is what we have told, doctrine of width and substance and colorable legislation. So, the Supreme Court will try to apply its mind. Will try to apply its mind means what is the contention, what is the content in the matter, under what circumstances this particular law was passed, whether it is in union list or state list or concurrent list. Normally, when it comes to union matters, union list prevails. When it comes to state matters, state list prevails. In a concurrent list, if there is a contradiction, union list prevails. That is, you can call as residuary powers of Government of India under Article 248. Residuary powers mean the prevalence of union list over state, union over state list. State, when it comes to a contradiction in union list. Normally the powers were divided by union list and state list. So, here when it comes to union list and state list, if there is a contradiction, sometimes the matter may fall in both the lists. Incidentally, sometimes it may happen, and that's what we have discussed about, called doctrine of width and substance in Prafulla Kumar Mukherjee case. Prafulla Kumar Mukherjee case is the best example for this width and substance where the Supreme Court have applied. Means what happened in this case? Bengal government passed Money Lenders Act to control money lending in Bengal. This was challenged on the ground of the Bengal government exceeded its jurisdiction and it tried to encroach upon the powers of the central government. Incidentally, so what happened, what Supreme Court said here, the Supreme Court have looked into the content of the act. But Supreme Court has power to control, because Supreme Court here, the state government has power to control money lending in this particular country, particular state, means the West Bengal. but it encroached the topic of promissory note, which is in Negotiable Instruments Act in central list. So this was challenged. But Supreme Court applied the doctrine of pith and substance and told in this case, if you look at the substance or content of the case, it incidentally encroached upon the powers of central government, but money lending is the state subject. So, though promissory note is in central list, it never encroached upon because the interest for which this particular money lending act is passed, showing that the intention of the state government. So, after looking into content of substance in this case, what Supreme Court said, they have applied the doctrine of pith and substance and says this act is valid. This act is valid. So, in the same case, so here what happened? This is the case in which the doctrine of pith and substance applied. And what it is indicating? It is indicating that sometimes if it incidentally sometimes encroaches upon the powers of other, either state or Bengal, but they will see the substance, means content, for what this particular law is passed. Okay? So, then colorable legislation. Colorable legislation means it is based on maxim, which says that you cannot do indirectly what you cannot do directly. So sometimes either state or parliament may try to implement their law through indirect exercise. Indirect exercise means here the court is going to see the malified intention or motive of the legislator, either state and center, to see whether this is passed with a bad motive. So in this case, we have case in which the first time this colorable legislation is applied by the Supreme Court, KCG Narayan Dev versus State of Orissa. KCG Narayan Dev versus State of Orissa, AR 1953, Supreme Court 375. AR 1953, Supreme Court 375. In this case, first time the Supreme Court applied this doctrine called colorable legislation. What is this doctrine? You cannot do indirectly what you can't do directly. So here what Supreme Court said in this case, the old doctrine of colorable legislation is based, and if the legislature power to make law, motive in making that law is irrelevant. So they will see whether which motive means whether the particular legislator passed the law to violate the constitution or to violate this interpretation of the distribution of lists. If you try to do that, the court can declare it as invalid on the ground of colorable legislation. And the next one is doctrine of repugnancy. This is we have discussed in first semester also. Doctrine of repugnancy means in concurrent list, both the state and center has power to pass laws. If a law which is passed inconsistent, means if both are contradicting each other, what to do? Here they have applied the doctrine of repugnancy, means here to some extent, to what extent that repugnancy is, that is declared as void. So when it comes to this doctrine of repugnancy, as I told you, when it comes to these doctrines were not mentioned in the Constitution. The doctrines were not mentioned in the Constitution means what? This is interpretation of Honorable Supreme Court. Supreme Court have applied these doctrines to settle the dispute between state and center regarding the distribution of legislative relations. So here Article 245 deals with this doctrine of repugnancy, means Article 254(1) only applies when there is any inconsistency between both central law and state law. So, here, for this purpose, we have a landmark case, Karunanidhi case. You can call it as M. Karunanidhi versus Union of India, AR 1979, Supreme Court 898, AR 1979, Supreme Court 898. In this case, Justice Fazal Ali observed, on what grounds this doctrine of repugnancy have to be applied. So, on what ground? The first ground is there must be direct and clear inconsistency between two laws. And it must be shown on the record. There must be inconsistency between these two, state law and central law. The second one is there can be no repeal by implication unless the inconsistency appears on the face of the two statutes. The third point is when two statutes occupy a particular field, there is a room for possibility of both the statutes operating in the same field. So, both statutes operating in the same field, definitely it will create problem. So, there they will apply the doctrine of repugnancy. The next one is, there is no inconsistency, but a statute occupying the same field seeks to create distinct and separate offences. No question of repugnancy arises, and both the statutes continue to operate in the same field when it comes to criminal offences. Okay, so here what we have to remember, what Supreme Court said in this case, what Fazal Ali observed, that the consistency must be shown on record. When there is direct consistency, means here this particular doctrine is applied to resolve a dispute arising out of conflict between two laws. So, three doctrines. The first one is doctrine of pitch and substance. The next one is colorable legislation. The next one is doctrine of repugnancy. In this connection, we have discussed three cases which deals with the three aspects. Okay, so normally, if you look at the scheme of distribution of powers between central and state, legislative relations, union list, state list and concurrent list. Union list, union is having power, state list, state is having power, concurrent list, both are having power. So, when there is a conflict between state and union, which we have discussed, the doctrine of repugnancy. So, here normally state has power to pass laws on its own subjects. The next question is, sometimes when it comes to central-state relations, normally when I told you about the residuary powers under Article 248, what it is saying, in the both concurrent list, if both are having the same, the doctrine, the central law will prevail. This is called as residuary power. So, it shows that predominance of union list over state list. So, sometimes in our constitution, you have a provision called as central, means the parliament can legislate on state subjects. Under what circumstances? Under what circumstances means, the first one is parliament. So, Article 249. 249 is empowering Rajya Sabha with 2/3 majority to pass law, which applies to even to the states. So, this best example is your Goods and Services Act 249(1). If you go through 249, the wording in 249, you will find that Rajya Sabha passes a resolution, the state has to follow. The second one is during emergency. So, here normally the power of state, the power of parliament is subject to the distribution of powers mentioned in the constitution. Certain times, in some exceptional circumstances, the Parliament can legislate on state subjects. That is what we are discussing. The first one is 249. The Parliament, the Rajya Sabha has power to pass resolution. To that effect, the states has to follow that law. And the next one is during emergency. You all know about emergency. During emergency, the Parliament is the only competent authority to pass laws throughout India. Okay. So when emergency is imposed under Article, The next one is with the consent of the states under Article 252. With the consent of both two or states asked the Parliament to pass a particular law to their states. If the consent is given by Parliament, both the states, the Parliament can pass law on that. This is one aspect. The second one is under Article 356, when state emergency was imposed, you can call it as President's rule. When President rule is imposed, so the role of the state legislature is going to followed by the Parliament. So when President rule is imposed, what happened? There is a suspended animation, or sometimes House is going to be dissolved in state. So at that time, the Parliament is going to play the role of state legislator. They can pass laws on state subjects. And next one is when it comes to the implementation of international treaties and agreement, according to Constitution, the Parliament is compelled to pass laws to that effect. The state has to follow when it comes to implementation of international treaties and agreements. Okay, so this is called as Article 253. You can find this provision. Okay, the state emergency, what I told you, when 356 is imposed according to 256 article, the Parliament has power to legislate on state subject. Means these are the areas in which the Parliament can pass laws even on state subjects. What we are coming to know after going through the interpretation and application of these lists and distribution of powers by the Constitution, normally the Parliament has some powers over state, means state legislator, because this is created because of you have a strong center where you have to protect the unity of the country. At the same time, if you look at state list, a concurrent list, by applying the doctrine of pith and substance, the Supreme Court have tried to protect the rights of even the state legislator. So, what Constitution is saying, a country like India, which is having these diverse features, we have to protect both unity and diversity, and the unitary features of Constitution and federal features of Constitution. Certain times, Parliament has more powers, normally to protect the strong center. So, if you go after going through this list in legislative relations, and if you go through the three lists and entries, union list, concurrent list and state list, the framers of the Constitution have tried to protect both strong center and federal features of the Constitution. Okay, so this is what about these legislative relations, and the next class we will discuss about administrative relations. Thank you.